From robots to self-driving vehicles, the latest in technology and artificial intelligence took center stage at the annual CES in Las Vegas. Hello, I'm Arnold Naidu, and this is The Heat. The number is staggering. According to Future Markets Insights, the global market for consumer electronics is expected to reach $3 trillion in the next 8 years. With connected and smart devices taking the lead, more than 4,000 exhibitors made their way to Las Vegas this week to showcase their products at the annual CES show. Well, there's much to talk about. Let's get to our panel. Joining us here in Washington is Amy Zalman. She's a global security futurist and the founder of the Strategic Narrative Institute. With us from Las Vegas is James Sung. He's the founder and chief strategist of Zocus Strategic Marketing. James Barrat is a documentary filmmaker and the author of Our Final Invention, Artificial Intelligence and the End of the Human Era. And also with us from Las Vegas is the senior reviews editor for Gizmodo, Alex Cranz. Thanks to all of you for joining us. And Alex, in Las Vegas, let me start with you. Well, thousands of products on show at CES every year, but what's getting the most attention this year?
You know, I think one of the things that's really getting a lot of attention is that Google versus Amazon debate that we're seeing, but also the processor war that's kind of kicking off between AMD and Intel. Intel just released a new processor that's going into a lot of laptops this coming year, and AMD has just updated a lot of their processors, and they're going to be fighting it out all year, making things cheaper, which will be better for the rest of us. Right,
but Alex, in terms of products that you can play with on the floor there in the exhibition halls,
yeah. I would probably say the HTC Vive Pro. It was a completely wireless HTC Vive headset, really high quality, absolutely gorgeous, and had a lot of really fun games.
Amy, the Consumer Technology Association expects that consumer spending in the U.S. market, it's just in the U.S. market, will reach $35 billion. That's 4% over electronic spending last year. What are Americans spending their money on?
Well, I think, as Alex said, entertainment is huge. Anything that makes somebody's life easier, more beautiful, more entertaining, in an inexpensive way. Television, anything with a screen on it. Perhaps increasingly home, things like washing machines, things with a little bit of smartness built in. Refrigerators and the like.
The connected home, isn't it?
The beginning. I think that's what the companies that Alex referred to would like.
James Sung in Las Vegas, we hear of this competition between Google and Amazon, and that competition, I guess, would focus to some extent on these smart devices that they're selling, devices that you can talk to, devices that give you answers, etc. Have we seen a big development in that this year?
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I have a little different take than Alex because I work with a lot of smaller companies, a lot of makers out of Shenzhen, China. And, you know, we've seen a lot of these platforms that Google has put together, that Amazon has put together. And, you know, they're being utilized not just by the big companies themselves, but, you know, there's a lot of smaller companies now that can take the software and that can put it, you know, save years of research and development and make really great products from this. This is my 16th year at CES, and every year the Chinese companies are getting more and more confident about putting together products to demo to US consumers. And one of them this year is Dreamlight. It's a sleep mask that is using really something very revolutionary. It's using your DNA to actually help you create custom sleeping profiles for your sleep, using light and music to help you sleep better and wake up more relaxed.
Have you tried it, James?
Yes, absolutely. It's you know, as soon as you put it on, it relaxes you because the entire show floor is so noisy, and the Bluetooth speakers actually cancel out the outside noise. And it's gadgets like this that are really exciting and really showing the power of the Chinese ingenuity.
I could buy something like that. James Barrat, what's grabbing your attention at CES?
Well, I'm very excited by all the innovation and the Internet of Things and all the connectivity in the home. But I get a little worried about bringing into homes things like Amazon Echo and things like Siri and Cortana and Google Home, because our innovation runs ahead of our stewardship with these devices. They can be hacked. We know they can be hacked by people with bad intent. The data that's gathered from them can be sold. There are 400 companies that buy and sell personal data. They have a portfolio on you and me and everybody listening right now. I question the ethics of that. I question the ability of companies to treat this data responsibly, and I question how immune are these systems to hacking.
So would you be in favor of all these new developments, all these systems, some of them sitting in our bedrooms as well, like the Dot, for instance, which may be able to listen to what we're saying in the bedroom?
Yes.
Would you be comfortable with having those devices, but having some kind of regulation over them?
Absolutely. I think, I'm usually the last to say this, but I think some regulation is absolutely necessary, because what we're finding is, if you have a device in your home, and we know that Amazon Echo can be hacked, and you start talking about your medical history, well, it may be that you'll get turned down for insurance someday. Or if you start talking about your financial crisis, it may be that you don't get that loan. And we know already that a lot of the algorithms that are used in making loans, in approving kids, letting kids into college, for determining a lot of core civil procedures are biased. They're gender and racial bias. So, I love all the innovation. I love AI, but I think our ethics have to go hand in hand with all this excitement.
Did you want to say something, Abe?
If you'd like me to, I mean, I agree wholeheartedly. There's a theory though around that data companies are not going to give up. Regulation is not going to stop the sort of fight to get data into their hands, for the reasons that your other interviewee alluded to. The ability to personalize experiences and to have us purchase them sort of back for ourselves is powerful.
Okay, Alex, I want to ask you about the big developments we're hearing about in the automotive industry. But first, do you have a view on these devices being in our homes and possibly passing on information to companies?
I absolutely do, because
yeah.
Facebook wasn't at CES this year, or they were, but they didn't have a very large presence, certainly not on the show floor. But we actually heard from Cheddar earlier this week a confirmation that we'd originally heard from Business Insider, that Facebook was working on their own smart display, that like what we saw from Google, which would be a display in your home with a camera, watching you, tracking you, really putting more and more of your data into the giant Facebook infrastructure. And that was one of the most terrifying things I heard of this week.
That's the kind of thing you're talking about.
That's exactly what I'm talking about. We know that Facebook, Facebook plays fast and loose with our privacy.
Right.
The Google plays fast and loose with our privacy. That Google Street View camera used to suck up local area network data, as well as take pictures of the streets. So, these guys, I hate to say it, but a lot of these powerful tech companies would rather be sued than be ethical. They'd rather be sued later.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
So, Alex, let's talk about automobiles, cars and trucks and buses. I mean,
they're getting smarter.
Right, they're getting smarter. We hear about driverless cars. Has there been any kind of breakthrough technology that you've seen at CES that would perhaps make people feel more comfortable with driverless vehicles?
I don't think there have been a whole lot of big breakthroughs. There were certainly some announcements. NVIDIA gave the keynote this year, and they announced a whole new system-on-chip computer that they're developing for driverless cars. It's going to be appearing in the Uber fleet, and it's definitely just, we're seeing that this is actually happening. We're going to be getting these driverless cars. They're coming, whether we like them or not, and we just need to start, I think, getting regulations in place and start really working on evaluating what's actually going to happen when these cars are on the road.
Yeah, but I think the resistance now comes from this kind of psychological barrier that's out there. How could you have this piece of metal running without any human being controlling it? And I'm wondering if there's any technology that will perhaps, overcome that barrier.
People certainly hinted at it. Panasonic had a very low-key booth this year. They're celebrating their 100th anniversary, And rather than showing off a lot of new technology, they were showing off a lot of very old technology, and they were showing off a lot of future-facing technology, like a giant car that has no steering wheel and just a table in the center, and you're supposed to sit around the table and have a chat as it drives you places. But they weren't giving any details on what kind of technology will actually fuel that car or how it could potentially be safer than me sitting behind the wheel of my own car.
James Sung, what about the situation in China? I mean, China has a growing automobile industry. There's a big focus right now on electric cars. Where does technology fit into that?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's I've been living in China for 10 years now, and you know, just recently this year, you see more and more refueling or electrifying stations popping up everywhere. China has a lot of subsidies to encourage this, and I think China is definitely going to be the leader in the electric car industry now, because even like in Shenzhen, for example, anyone who gets an electric car can get subsidies of up to $12,000. License plates are also limited in Shenzhen and in a lot of the major cities in China. And if you have an electric car, then you can actually skip the line and directly register your car. So with these incentives, I think China is going to really be on the forefront of electric automobiles.
Amy, very quickly, the Los Angeles Times reported last October that we could see driverless cars, autonomous vehicles, as they sometimes called, on the roads in California by June this year. Do you think that's going to happen?
Not in any widespread way. I mean, the earliest will be trucks, and that is estimated to be in around 2020 when we start to have actual, deliveries made by driverless trucks. The automation of cars, as is becoming well known, goes up to a level of 5. Many of us are driving slightly automated cars right now. If we have something in our screen that tells us when we're backing up what we're doing, they have cameras and sensors in them already. But a fully automated car in June, I don't think so. Not for real consumers, maybe for test drivers.
Yeah. Okay, we are going to take a break right now. More of our conversation when we return. Stay with us. You're watching The Heat.